The fact that there is a large tunnel that's been unearthed, 2.5 miles at least, sufficiently big to drive small trucks, cars, to move people at speed down it, and the fact that it comes out very close to the Israeli border means that it is, of course, a strategic tunnel built by Hamas. And it's a tunnel that Daniel Hagari has called Sinwar's secret, referencing the Hamas leader. But it's the level of sophistication involved, and of course it reminds it's reminiscent of the tunnels which were alleged to be under the hospital, and so few of those tunnels were actually displayed. There were some tunnels. I remember seeing people walking the tunnels on YouTube, and it's sort of labyrinthine and terrifying and extraordinarily well planned, but malicious. And a professor at one of Israel's universities said Hamas has the most extensive and most sophisticated tunnel network ever encountered in warfare. But the question that I would like to ask is how on earth did this take place over the last 10 years or so under Israel's nose? It just seems extraordinary. There's a video that has been shown to journalists by the Israeli military of Mohammed Sinwar driving a car through this particular tunnel. The video shows Hamas using a large tunnel drilling machine. Where did they get that? How did they get that into the area? And why did they spend so much money drilling tunnels and designing and maintaining tunnels, and yet didn't look after their own people? Surely Hamas was supposed to be, first and foremost, a government. Instead, it seems to have been a some sort of prison breakout resource. And it's very difficult to turn around and say that the civilian deaths are the responsibility of Hamas. I don't think they are. I think they're the responsibility of a foolish ground invasion. But at the same time, the mendacity, the failure in leadership, the obsessive pursuit of war aims by the Hamas organization is demonstrated by things like this tunnel. And without demolishing the tunnels, without destroying the tunnel system, Israel doesn't stand a chance of victory over Hamas. But even if it destroys the tunnel systems, the time that it is taking, the deaths that are resulting, means that it, and the propaganda victory that it is giving to Hamas, means that this is at best a Pyrrhic victory. And it cannot result in peace. Israel has to find a way that it can pursue its military aims, that it can pursue its aims of eradicating Hamas, and at the same time build something that will lead to a lasting peace with Palestine, its neighbours. Now, I think that's the two-state solution, or a version of the two-state solution. But at the same time, At the same time, I think, that will require investment by Israel into both the into both the Palestinian territories, the West Bank and the Gaza Strip. But that will require a proper peace, and I think it will require the destruction of the walls, of the fences, of the barricades, and that will require a building of trust. And this war does not help to establish trust. So when you look at this tunnel, which I've got up here, when you look at this tunnel, you see how different it is to the crude, small passageways that existed initially, and it's a long way from the tunnels built in Korea, for example. It's what, and again, I keep coming back to this thing. Why did Israel not know? Israel knew in 2014 that Hamas had been building passageways from Gaza into Israel. It built the underground barriers. It invested in a system to detect tunnel digging called the obstacle. But none of that seems to have worked. And I think that ought to be a lesson for the rest of the West, that technology is not a solution. Technology is not a replacement for eyes on the ground, for seeing things. And those soldiers, those Israeli soldiers who have to go into the tunnels, I think one should bear a thought for them, and for the hostages being kept in the tunnels, and for those Palestinians tricked into working with Hamas, offered ridiculous bribes of flats, and that their families will be looked after. Their families have been destroyed. Hamas can offer no assurances, and there are no gifts in Hamas's power. The power has been taken away from Hamas. It's terribly sad.